For this week's episode of Behind the Badge, we're going to talk about one of the most visible police resources that the general public sees on a daily basis, and that is the marked patrol car. With me is our Administrative Program Manager, Ms. April McKeithan, and April is responsible for managing our fleet of police vehicles.
Yes, sir.
April, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and what's amazing is when we get these cars brand new, this is what they look like.
Yes, sir.
And this is one that's brand new that has had no outfitting yet.
Correct.
And in a matter of months, we will take it from this to this.
Yes, sir.
And this process has several stages to it. And just tell us a little bit about that process when we get them in brand new, April, and how we get from here to here.
Okay, so basically we have several vendors that we use locally here. The first step that we normally take is we outfit them with all the internal equipment and the external equipment, which is going to include our lights, our radios, the siren, and our in-car cameras, which is a relatively new aspect of the vehicles nowadays. Once we have our installer put all of those items in, it has all the bones to be a police car but needs to have the markings. So then we use a local vendor to do our graphics here, and all of our newer vehicles are running the black and white graphics, and that is a complete car.
And you hit on something that's very interesting. You said our newer vehicles.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, anything that's above 2014 has the black and white graphics on it.
That's correct.
And anything 2014 prior has the old graphics. And right now we're still in transition. We have a few of the older cars
Yes.
that are still left in our inventory. But I think we're around 75% of them or more are
Yes.
the black and white vehicles.
Yes, I was able to this year actually get all of the older graphics into our spare fleet. So my hope is after this fiscal year, we will completely have phased that graphic out. Our fleet will be 100% black and white with the matching graphics.
Let me ask you this question, April. About how many years are we getting out of a patrol car now?
Right now, they are on a 6-year replacement plan. And then our SUVs and our trucks and some of our specialized vehicles is on an 8-year replacement plan. It depends if they have some life left over towards the end of that 6 years, we will make them a spare to use in the event that, a newer vehicle goes down or whatnot. For contracts and for just any general purpose, we'll keep them around in the fleet for a couple more years.
And we have some vehicles that we consider real specialty vehicles that are housed inside, and I think the life expectancy on those vehicles are probably 20 years because
Correct.
those are very high dollar
Yes.
assets, and those are things that the public do not see on a daily basis.
Right. Yes, those are more based on the usage and everything of how long they will remain in the fleet. It's really our fleet manager here, along with myself, we start to look at the cost of the vehicle versus the usage of the vehicle. So as long as we're getting more use out of it than what it's costing us, we'll keep it in the fleet.
The vehicle is just so important because, again, the purpose of a marked patrol car is to prevent crime from taking place. And they're very crucial when it comes into a lot of our efforts and strategies that we're using to make our communities safer. And it's just the visibility that the public sees. They see this on a daily basis. They see these young men and women that are out safeguarding our community around the clock, 24 hours a day.
Okay.
Now let's fast forward a little bit.
Okay.
We can't keep them forever, as you said. They have a 6-year life on them. At the end of that 6-year life, let's look at one that's at the end of its life and talk about what's going to happen with that one.
Yes.
All right. We were talking about the new cars and how a black car becomes a black and white car, but they have a life. And I know you said the life was 6 years. And at the end of that life, something has to happen to these cars. So let's talk a little bit about the process at the end of life with them.
Okay. So once we've determined that that vehicle has served its purpose, we actually use a vendor called GovDeals to try to sell the vehicle to recoup a little bit from it, which the proceeds then go into purchasing a new vehicle. But before we do that, of course, we don't want a vehicle released that has all of our equipment in it. In addition, a lot of the equipment we can reuse, so we will do what is called stripping. We will remove all of the police equipment and basically put this vehicle back to its original state as just a vehicle, just a shell of a car. We put it on GovDeals. It's kind of like an eBay type setup. We sell it on there, and they move on to the next phase of life, and we put the money back into purchasing a new vehicle.
Now, one misconception that people have with these patrol cars is that the police department actually purchases them directly. They don't understand, and they don't realize that fleet management for the entire city purchases all city vehicles.
Correct.
And at the end of the day, they manage our fleet for us, and they take care of the maintenance, which is a big part, because our officers work 10 to 12 hour shifts depending on where they're assigned, and they cover a lot of mileage with these cars. I can recall putting 150 miles on a patrol car in one night.
Yes.
So maintenance is a big part of this. So let's talk a little bit about preventative maintenance and inspections and things that we have to do to our cars, just like the general public has to do. We have the permanent tags on the marked cars, which is great, but on the unmarked cars, we have to redo tags. We're not exempt from state inspection, so every car has to be inspected.
Yes. So how we do that is they're on a rotation, just like with our personal cars, like Chief said. We run it every 5,000 miles or every 1 year, depending on which comes first. Mostly it's the 5,000 miles. We will bring them in addition to just a general oil change, the technician will go through that car bumper to bumper to check everything to make sure that it's safe. We get new tires, new belts, new hoses, anything that is deemed to be a problem or a safety issue. Fleet will change that out for us to make sure that our officers remain as safe as possible. Also, like Chief said, our unmarked cars that have the normal license plates on them have to go through a yearly inspection, which we do in the October-November range, so we're actually in the process of doing that right now. We go through DMV just like a normal consumer would. We get our vehicles inspected, pay our registration, and we're good to go on that for another year as well.
One thing about our cars is they're not unique from flat tires and breaking down. They break down like other people's cars. So what do you do when a patrol car breaks down in the middle of the night?
So we work with a tow company, and that's based off a bid. Whoever wins the bid that year, they are basically on contract for us, and it's a 24/7 service. Whether it be a flat tire or they need to be pulled in 24/7, we call that tow company, and then they bring it to our fleet garage, who will then the next business day take care of the issue, repair the tire or whatnot. A unique thing that we do have is an agreement. Of course, keeping our patrol men and women on the street is priority. So we work with the tow companies to actually take some of our tire inventory, so they can then go ahead and change a flat tire on the street, even to get our folks back on the road and patrolling as quickly as possible.
Another thing that the public's probably curious about: where do you get your gas from?
Yes, that's a good point. So we have 2 fueling stations that are city-owned, city-run. The one is at the southern part of the city, and one is at our headquarters. We have fuel cards. They're just like credit cards, but it's all internally run. By doing that, we are able to, maintain, especially during storm events, that our officers have priority. They have fuel when some of the other regular gas stations do not. They're 24/7 pumps. They can get to them whenever they need and fill up.
One thing I did forget: cost. How much does a patrol car cost?
So the cost of the vehicle itself is, right now, of course, that changes with the economy. Right now, we're paying around $25,000 for just the vehicle itself. But once all of the upfit, the equipment, the installs, everything, complete package, we're somewhere right around $34,000 for a marked patrol unit.
Wow. Wow. Well, April, thank you so much for sharing all of this information, and I know our public appreciates what you do and what the men and women of the agency do.
Yes.
I definitely appreciate you.
Thank you.
And I know because before we converted your position to a non-sworn position, I had the pleasure of being you for a year, and that was one of my better assignments.
Yes.
I enjoyed that assignment. I really did as a lieutenant. If you want to join us behind the badge and drive one of these black and white patrol cars, you know what to do. We're always hiring. Go to wilmingtonnc.gov jobs. And we would love to have you. Once COVID restrictions lift, we can go back to our ride-along program and maybe get you in a black and white patrol car with one of our officers so you can see what goes on during a 12-hour shift. Again, thank you and enjoy the rest of your week.